Okay, this morning we're out here, beautiful morning again, flat, calm, sun's out. We're gonna target salmon, Chinook salmon on the jig. So we're using the Gibbs Delta Mac Fish 5-ounce jig out here, and we're in about 200 feet of water. We're looking for bait. There's a little bit of a current out here, so it's gonna be tough to get right down to that 200 foot mark. So if we can target some bait around 150 feet-ish, we're gonna try and just get this jig down there and work it back up through the water column. But you can jig, I've seen guys jig with multiple different rod and reel combos. We're using the Shimano Claris. It's a medium power rod. It's actually a steelhead rod, 10'6", and we have that with the Shimano Conquest reel. So it's a really, really light setup, but it's super effective, great retrieve ratio. We have 30-pound braid on here, and we have a 40-pound fluorocarbon tippet. So pretty simple. Just get this jig, just tie the leader straight onto your jig. Simple clinch knot. I know some guys like to do like a loop knot, but clinch knot does the job, and we'll get this thing down. Always wet your knots, always makes them a little bit tighter. And these jigs typically come with treble hook on them, but we like to change them out for just a single hook, less damage to the fish. So anyways, what we'll do is again, use your electronics, right? And then on our screen right now, we can see some bait on there. And basically you're just gonna free spool down into that zone. And a lot of times when you're jigging, the rod will get hit as you're on a drop. So anytime you feel a slight pause, or if there's any type of hesitation in your rod, set the hook, okay? And it takes a couple times to get used to it. At first, the first couple times it happens, you don't know what really is going on, and it kind of catches you off guard. But a lot of times when you're in a little bit shallower water, not this 200 feet, I find when you get that jig right to the bottom in the bait, it's like 1-2 reels, and a lot of times you have a fish on like right away. But it's a really effective way to catch salmon, and it's also a lot of fun because you get to hold the rod in your hand and feel the bite. So a big thing on these level winds is when you push the button, is you have to keep your thumb on the reel, or you're gonna get a bird's nest. So push that button, and essentially you're just guiding it down. It's still dropping fast, and you can just kind of gauge speed a little bit, but drop it pretty quick. These fish move fast, and like I said, a lot of times they'll hit it on the way down. So we're in decently deep water here, so it's gonna take a minute to get down, but once I get down there, you'll feel, your rod will go slack, your line will go slack, and that means your jig has hit the bottom of the ocean floor. So once I hit it, rod will kind of go slack. Okay, I engage now. I do a couple reels and jig. Okay, up, pretty aggressive jig. Then every once in a while, because depth is obviously constantly changing, you want to reset. Okay, I'm not feeling bottom here. All right, engage again. Let's get back down there. Get back down there. Okay, I hit. Engage. Here we go. Start that process again. And then as you see bait on your screen, you can come up to the water column. So a couple reels, jig, work it. Just a lot of times these fish are hanging right on the bottom. Sometimes they're moving, they're following bait mid-water. So you can keep working that up constantly. And sometimes where I found a lot of bites come from that really triggers these fish, it's just a real fast retrieve back to the surface, because that jig is swimming, all right, like a wounded bait fish. So you get that wounded action on the drop when it's just fluttering down, and also on a quick retrieve, you have that same action from your jig. So a lot of times on a quick retrieve, you'll get bit, and it's violent because you're not really expecting it, but you're coming in quick, and all of a sudden it's like wham, fish. A lot of times you just kind of get your rod tip right back to, almost where it's touching the water. And it's a pretty strong lift up, kind of come up to the height of your shoulder, like bring your hand up. So my hand's pointed down kind of towards the water. and I pull it up to about shoulder height here. So it's about, you know, about 3 feet, I would say, that you're working that jig through that column there. It's a lot of fun for kids because they're engaged. They have a rod in their hand and they're keeping busy on the boat instead of, you know, waiting for a bite. A lot of times they lose interest. And this way they feel, you know, they're a part of the action. And again, there's no replacing holding a rod in your hand when you get a bite from a fish. It's electric and it's a huge adrenaline rush. One of the most important things when you're jigging for fish is having great electronics. And we're very lucky to have Simrad on board our boat here. And because you're essentially fishing in the dark if you don't find bait. I mean, you almost have no chance. Well, there we go. Oh, I just got bit. Because we're over bait right now. I just missed him. I wasn't paying attention. But we got one on this side here. Nolan just dropped, but you can see on the screen here right now. So we stopped in this area. There's a huge bait ball down here. Nolan dropped in and he's onto a fish right away. So could be a salmon. There are some rockfish out here as well. So yeah, I mean, it is ultra important to have good electronics. And again, our Simrad units have helped us catch multiple fish.